You see, every once in a while, among the endless hum of ordinary existence, there emerges a rare soul. Not rare because they possess something others don't, not because they've climbed higher or shouted louder, but because they remember something the rest of us have forgotten. They remember that life is not a race to win, but a dance to be enjoyed. Most people are taught to live as if existence were a ladder endlessly climbing, step by step, achievement by achievement, all the while missing the point that ladders only go somewhere if you forget to look at the sky. But the rare soul pauses. They feel the wind and listen to the silence beneath the noise. They understand that being is more beautiful than becoming. You see, the rare soul knows that the self is not a possession. It's not this name or this face or the opinions others hold about us. The self, your true self, is the rhythm of the universe itself, expressing as you, like a wave expressing the ocean, like sunlight playing as a spark in human form. To be rare is not to be special, it is to be authentic, to live without apology for your peculiar song, your laughter, your tears, your endless wonder. The rare soul is not trying to impress or convince or compete. They are too busy being alive. They are the ones who can sit with pain and still find beauty, who can face uncertainty and still trust the unfolding. And here's the secret: there's nothing you must become to be that rare soul. You already are. You were born rare, before you learn to compare, before you learn to doubt. The task, if there is one, is not to improve yourself, but to remember yourself, to peel back the layers of fear and expectation, and find that beneath it all, the universe is humming quietly in your chest. So walk gently, laugh freely, love deeply, and when the world tells you to hurry, smile and take your time. Because the rare soul knows that eternity is not found in tomorrow, but in this very breath. To live authentically is to return to the center of one's being, to rediscover that quiet spark that existed long before the world told you who you should be. Most people move through life trying to meet expectations that were never their own, shaped by the voices of society, family, and fear. They climb ladders, chase titles, wear masks, and call it identity. Yet somewhere deep within, there is a whisper that knows this isn't living. Authenticity is that whisper made visible. It is the art of being exactly what you are without disguise or apology. A person who lives authentically is not concerned with comparison. They do not measure their worth by how they appear next to another. Instead, they see that every being is a unique expression of the same great mystery, each playing a part in a vast and beautiful symphony. When one tries to imitate another's song, the harmony falters, but when each plays their own true note, the whole universe seems to hum in tune. To live in this way requires courage, because the world often rewards imitation more than honesty. It asks you to conform, to be efficient, to fit in. But authenticity is not efficiency, it is freedom. It is the willingness to walk your path, even when it winds away from the crowd. It is choosing truth over comfort, depth over distraction. The rare soul knows that to be authentic is to be whole, and to be whole is to be alive in the truest sense. This kind of life cannot be built by force or ambition. It grows naturally when you stop trying to be anything other than what you already are. You see, the tree does not strain to be taller than the one beside it. The river does not rush to prove it flows more gracefully. They simply are, and in that being they reveal their beauty. So too with a person who embraces their essence, they radiate something effortless, something no one else can imitate. The authentic being moves with a quiet confidence, not because they believe they are better, but because they have nothing to hide. Their joy is not dependent on approval, nor their peace on praise. They know that life itself is the gift, and that the greatest act of gratitude is to live it truthfully. Such a person becomes like a clear mirror in which others glimpse their own potential to be real. When you live authentically, You become a light in a world that has grown weary of performance. You remind others that there is another way to exist, one that is softer, freer, more human. And in that simple act of being yourself, you give permission for others to do the same. That is the quiet revolution of a rare soul, to inspire change not through control or argument, but through the radiance of truth lived openly, moment by moment. Most people are taught from an early age that life is something to conquer, a sequence of goals to reach, deadlines to meet, and milestones to achieve. They grow up believing that happiness lies somewhere just ahead in the next job, the next relationship, the next accomplishment. So they hurry through their days, always leaning forward into the future, rarely pausing to feel the miracle of the moment they are already living. But life, in its deepest truth, is not a competition or a climb. It is not measured in trophies or timelines. It is a vast, unfolding dance, meant to be experienced rather than conquered. Presence is the quiet art of being fully here. It is noticing the rhythm of your breath, the warmth of sunlight through the window, the laughter that lingers after a conversation. It is realizing that all of existence is happening now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but in this very instant. When you are truly present, even the simplest act becomes sacred. The taste of water, the sound of rain, the feel of your heart beat, these ordinary things reveal the extraordinary pulse of life itself. Progress, though often celebrated, can become a kind of prison when it blinds us to the present. The mind, always seeking the next step, forgets that fulfillment is not at the end of the journey, but within every step along the way. To chase endlessly after the future is to miss the richness that is already here. The rare soul understands that presence does not oppose progress. It gives it meaning. When actions arise from awareness, they are no longer driven by fear of failure or hunger for recognition. They flow naturally, like a river finding its path to the sea. There is a great peace that comes from slowing down. In stillness, the noise of ambition quiets, and you begin to hear the subtle music of life, a music that was always playing but drowned out by the rush. You start to see that the world does not demand haste, it invites participation. You no longer live as if time were something to outrun, but as if it were a friend to walk with. Each moment becomes a gift, unrepeatable and complete in itself. Living with presence does not mean giving up on growth or aspiration. It means engaging fully with what is before you, allowing each experience to unfold without resistance. It is the difference between running to reach the horizon and standing still long enough to realize the horizon has always surrounded you. When you stop racing through your life, you begin to feel your life, and in that feeling lies a deeper kind of progress, one not measured in numbers but in awareness. To live this way is to awaken. It is to see that joy does not wait at the finish line. It blooms quietly, right where you are, whenever you give your full attention to the present moment. There is a quiet truth that sits beneath all the noise of the world, the understanding that what we call the self is not something separate, but an expression of everything that exists. Like a wave rising from the ocean, each person emerges from the same vast source, carrying its rhythm, its depth, and its mystery. Yet so often, we move through life believing that we stand apart, that we are isolated fragments struggling against the world rather than part of its continuous flow. This illusion of separateness breeds fear, greed, and endless striving. But when the illusion fades, what remains is a sense of profound unity, a realization that to know oneself is to know the whole of life. The individual is not a fixed shape or identity, but a pattern of movement, a point of consciousness through which the universe experiences itself. Every breath we take is borrowed from the same air that has passed through mountains, forests, and the lungs of countless other beings. Every heartbeat echoes the pulse of creation. When this understanding dawns, something shifts within, the boundaries soften, the heart opens, and life becomes an intimate dance rather than a lonely battle. Seeing oneself as part of the whole does not erase individuality. It deepens it. Just as each wave has its own form while remaining part of the ocean, every person expresses the totality of existence in a unique way. The colors, sounds, and stories of our lives are different, but the essence animating them is one and the same. When this is felt deeply, comparison loses its meaning. There is no need to compete or dominate, because nothing is truly separate enough to be defeated or owned. This perspective brings a kind of peace that cannot be taught, only remembered. It softens the sharp edges of ego and replaces them with compassion. When you see others as extensions of the same source, kindness arises naturally, not as a moral duty, but as an expression of truth. You begin to recognize yourself in every face, every sound, every flicker of light on the water. The need to control gives way to the joy of participation, and life is experienced not as something to master, but as something to join in. To live with this awareness is to move in harmony with existence itself. Every action becomes part of a greater rhythm, every encounter a reflection of the same infinite presence. Fear fades because there is nowhere to fall, the ocean holds every wave. Death loses its sting, for what was never separate cannot truly end. What you are has always been part of the whole, and the whole continues, endlessly expressing, endlessly transforming. In this understanding lies true freedom. The recognition that you are not merely in the universe, you are the universe. Looking at itself through human eye, there is a deep and quiet wisdom in realizing that life is not about becoming someone new, but remembering what has always been true. From the moment we are born, we begin to gather layers, expectations, fears, beliefs, and roles that shape how we think we should be. We learn to wear masks to fit in, to protect ourselves, to earn love and approval. In time, we forget the face beneath the mask. We mistake the layers for the self, the striving for the purpose. Yet beneath all of it, there remains something untouched, an essence that never needed improvement, only recognition. The great misunderstanding is that fulfillment lies in transformation, in some distant point where we finally become enough. People spend years chasing the next version of themselves, thinking happiness will appear when they achieve, when they change, when they are worthy. But in doing so, they overlook the quiet truth that what they seek is already here, waiting beneath the noise. Remembering is the process of uncovering, of peeling away what is false to reveal what has been there all along. It is not a journey of addition, but of subtraction. When one begins to remember, the need to compete or compare fades away. The mind softens its grip, and the heart begins to trust the natural flow of life. You start to see that there was never anything wrong with you to begin with, only misunderstandings, only shadows cast by fear. The process of remembering is not about fixing, it is about seeing clearly. It is realizing that peace, love, and clarity are not things to gain, but states to awaken within. This awakening does not happen in a single moment of revelation, but through countless small recognitions when you pause to breathe, when you forgive yourself, when you let go of an old story that no longer fits. Each moment of awareness removes a layer, allowing your true being to shine a little more freely. Over time, the struggle to become fades, and what remains is a sense of stillness, a simple joy in being alive. To remember yourself is to come home. It is to feel at ease in your own presence, without needing to prove or perform. It is to stand quietly in the center of your own existence and realize that you belong to life just as you are. When this remembrance deepens, every experience becomes meaningful, even the painful ones, because you begin to see them as part of the unfolding of truth, part of the journey back to wholeness. In the end, the search for meaning resolves not in finding something new, but in rediscovering what was never lost. You are not a project to be completed. You are a mystery to be revealed. The more you remember, the more the world mirrors that remembrance back to you, until there is no separation between who you are and all that is. The essence of this speech rests on a simple yet profound realization that the true journey of life is not about striving to become extraordinary, but remembering that you already are. It reminds us that rarity is not found in perfection, but in presence, honesty, and awareness. A rare soul is one who dares to live authentically, to embrace the flow of existence without resistance, and to see themselves as part of the greater whole. Through reflection and stillness, the speech invites a return to what is real, to authenticity over ambition, to presence over progress, to unity over separation, and to remembrance over self-improvement. It teaches that fulfillment does not wait somewhere in the distant future. It unfolds in this very moment when one chooses to simply be. Ultimately, the message is both freeing and grounding. You are not a fragment lost in chaos, but a living expression of the universe itself. When you let go of the masks, the striving, and the noise, what remains is your natural state, peaceful, complete, and deeply alive. That is the rare soul's truth. To live as if every breath were both the question and the answer.